Between the Lines, the book tells us its story through the voice of its author. 5th episode. We are here with psychologist and writer Emiliano Forino Procacci. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We can start with a video clip that we have prepared so that you can get to know him better.
Emiliano Forino Procacci was born in Rome, but he preferred to live outside the capital, where he built his house and lives with his family. Since his young age, he devoted himself to poetry and published his works in books and magazines. His compositions were appreciated by the general public to the point that his name was entered in the Encyclopedia of Emerging Italian Poets. In 2010, he published Organizational Evolution and Human Resource Development with Ormondo Editore, a recommended text for the master's degree in Formation and Development of Human Resources at the University of Milan, Biococa. After having passed the state exam, and once he obtained the qualification to the profession of psychologist, Emiliano gained some significant study experience at the Mental Research Institute in Palo Alto, California, the University of Rome, and the City University London in England. He then successfully published Communicating for Success: The Secrets of Persuasion in Italy and in the United States. With this book, he won the Golden Book Awards and became a finalist at the International Book Awards in Los Angeles. This book deals with the topic of verbal and nonverbal communication and body language, facial microexpressions, and public speaking. The preface was written by psychologist and president of the European Institute for Training and Systemic Consulting, Maurizio Coletti. However, the book that made him famous is a motivational classic, Secrets of Motivation and Personal Growth, Exercises and Tools to Improve Life Quality, published by Aracne publisher. This is one of the few books on the topic that uses a language at times poetic. Inside the book, there are useful exercises to facilitate a process of empowerment and inner enrichment. Note that the preface of the book was written by Newton Lee, adjunct professor at Woodbury University, Los Angeles, and CEO at IFRS. Emiliano then decided to collect all the aphorisms and motivational phrases that were contained in its publications in an agile booklet entitled Freedom in Words, Phrases and Aphorisms for Your Motivation, published in Italy and in the United States. The preface was written by Ron Mortgott, ex-manager of the Walt Disney Company. Then it was the time of the book Follow Your Star and Fulfill Yourself in Change, published by Aracne publisher. The book collected wide approval right from the start. It is a motivational text that proposes different exercises to increase the level of self-esteem and develop a healthy and positive outlook on life. This time, it's Valentina Martelli, ride journalist and CEO at Hibiscus Media, who wrote the foreword. In 2015, Emiliano developed a system to select staff based on an assessment technique and the interpretation of body language and facial microexpressions, which widely spread in the United States. In 2011, Pope Benedict XVI christened his daughter in the Sistine Chapel, while Pope Francis christened his son in the Sistine Chapel. The United States guaranteed Emiliano a visa for extraordinary abilities, and in the same year, he was decorated with the Medal of Merit in the Vatican.
Welcome, Emiliano Forino Procacci, psychologist and writer. Let's start with a few questions about this book. Sad is the man that has no doubt, says the introduction. What audience does this work target?
Well, actually, sad is the man who has no doubt. I've always been passionate about this saying. Let's say that this work is for everybody who has doubts, for all those people who do not want to write the word end in the book of life. Precisely because it is a motivational book, it will appeal to all those people who, despite the difficulties, fall, get up, and fight to achieve a goal, small or large as it may be.
In this book, you talk about a zone where people hide to escape pain. What is this comfort zone?
When I say comfort zone, I mean the zone that we tend to hide in to find a refuge, be it for comfort or because we prefer to be in a safe place to avoid the challenges and pitfalls of life. It's hard to define the concept of comfort zone in a few words because there are as many zones as there are human beings. Everyone has their own. But let's think of all those people who would like to change jobs because they are dissatisfied with what they do, because maybe the pay is bad, or because perhaps they're not at ease with their colleagues, or maybe because they are not treated as they would like to be treated, but they do nothing to get a new job. It's those people that I ask, how many resumes have you actually sent during the last year? And the answers are not entirely comforting. So this is a classic example of comfort zone.
In fact, in the book, at some point, there is a sentence that states that boats are safe in the harbor, but that's not what they were built for. What does this mean?
What does it mean? Yeah, well, to explain this, I have to go back to a concept that has just come up in my mind. That being when Dante makes Odysseus say in the Divine Comedy, "You were not born to live like brutes, but to value virtue and knowledge." We can imagine people as boats that stay safely in a port for 100 and 1,000 years. But the real discovery is outside the safe harbor. Storms strengthen us, and boats were certainly built to travel the open sea, deal with storms, and return to the port, stronger than before. So if we want to go back to the quote and the exhortation that Odysseus addresses to his crew, in fact, he encourages them to find out what's around the corner and what lies beyond the known world and beyond the Pillars of Hercules. And this is the same exhortation that I address to readers, who should always have the curiosity and the stimulus to look out, and see what's behind the corner, because often there are great surprises and good opportunities that can be seized.
One of the most frequent forms of insecurity is false tenacity, we read. How would you explain this?
Well, in my book, by false tenacity, I mean that mask that is worn by people who show confidence and that often appear combative and determined. Perhaps our audience knows what I mean. Certainly they know someone like that. But these people aren't actually that determined, and they use their mask to conceal their real insecurity. However, this mask sometimes cracks, and the glow that lies underneath the mask leaks out and reveals the presence of insecurity.
So how do you recognize it?
Well, in fact, a tool that helps us recognize it doesn't exist, but it's possible to get close to it and try to understand it by reading body language and microfacial expressions, which approximately last for 1/5 of a second. I often say that it is difficult to lie with our body, and it is impossible to do it with microfacial expressions.
If there isn't a way to become self-confident, let's say a miraculous remedy, what can we do to go in this direction?
Certainly, you must pull out your determination. It is useless to seek strength somewhere outside yourself. You just have to look for it. In the book, I try to send this message through to the reader and find it within yourself. So you just need to find the key to pull it out.
People often influence our way of thinking and acting. So how can we try to limit that influence of others on our choices?
I could answer with a cliche and say that we must always think for ourselves, but I'd rather be more sincere, frank, and direct. And I'll say that the secret is, from my point of view, to pursue your dreams as if they were stars, believing till the end that you'll be able to grasp them. Happiness is always at hand.
Let's now listen to an excerpt of the book, which will be read by the actor Clara Ellen. I don't want to say that the contents of this work will change your destiny from day to night, nor make your life better in the glimpse of an eye, as if it was enough to read a few lines to make it possible. However, you will surely have happened to read something in passing that particularly struck you and took up roots in your mind, to then evolve into an idea and then into a real project of life. Well, sometimes it takes very little to find the necessary motivation to act, so this work will allow you to carve out a quiet corner where you can reflect and hopefully find the inspiration to do something, anything that might contribute to your personal growth. I would like to conclude this work with a sentence. This time it isn't a quote, but a little thought devoted to readers. Be bold. Seize every opportunity that the garden of life offers you. Always hope for a better tomorrow, because if you don't do it, you will lose the privilege to see the sunrise. When everything seems to be hidden by darkness, leverage on your willpower and look over the wall to illuminate your life. Never let torpidity dominate you. Be active, believe, sweat, struggle and rejoice for the result as much as for not having declined in its invitation. When the whiteness of winter will arrive, Sing your song and be proud of it, because once again, you will be offered the chance to test yourself. We have gotten to know the book through its author. Let's now get to know Emiliano Forino Procacci. Can I ask you a question about value? About love?
Of course.
What is it for you?
I think love is the engine that moves the world. And, actually, in my book, there is an emblematic excerpt where I speak directly to my readers and ask them, would you go to the other side of the world by walking 1,000 miles? Would you ever hike a mountain and reach its peak just for fun? The answer might be negative, but if I said, would you do that for love? Well, I think I would get yes for an answer, right? These few words hold the strength of love.
A feeling similar to love is friendship. What do you think about it, and to what extent do you think it is important in our lives?
Friendship is an essential value. It marks the difference between us and animals, and it is something magic that allows us to weave interpersonal relationships that can be really strong. And it certainly is a concept that can be reconnected to that of love, but friendship, especially indissoluble friendships, are part of people and follows them forever.
One last question on the concept of justice. What is justice for you? What do you think about it, and what do you mean by it?
Justice is how you see it. Just recently, I followed a debate on a social network where people discussed a true story, and I noticed that there were divergent opinions. What is right? I believe in the Latin motto, in medio stat virtus. So justice, virtue, and truth are always in the middle. So what is right and wrong? And is there something I quote in my book? It's as if human beings had a pair of glasses which they use to measure the world and see it in their own way. I don't think that there is universal justice. For sure, there is just and unjust, but it is always depending on us, on how we see it and understand justice. It is a subjective thing.
We thank writer and psychologist Emiliano Forino Procacci for having spent some time here with us.
Thank you.
We thank our viewers for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.